Welcome to footballgameplan.com.
Where football makes sense.
Alongside Cornell Hunter, I'm Tyler Merkovich. This is the Carolina Panthers team preview for 2009. And Cornell, of course, Jake Delhomme ends the season with 5 touchdowns and a loss to Arizona. Offensive side of the ball, what's it looking like?
Well, starting out with Jake Delhomme, I'm still in shock that this guy was rewarded with a multi-million-dollar contract after that performance in the playoffs. I mean, the guy blew it in the biggest game of the season. Carolina had a great season, led by a great group of running backs, and here this guy is rewarded for blowing the playoff game. Delhomme has been historically known for just throwing a lot of jump balls to Steve Smith, who is a phenomenal receiver who saves Delhomme more often than Delhomme makes a great play. So Delhomme at the quarterback position is still a question mark to me, but they do have a group of talented running backs.
You mentioned that great running back duo, Batman and Robin. 3rd in the league in rushing last year. It's D'Angelo Williams, finally had his breakout season. Jonathan Stewart, who was a rookie. So that is a great 1-2 punch. And it might coincide with the fact that they drafted a guy named Jeff Othoff at right tackle. They got Jordan Gross at left tackle. Great tackle combo right there.
Yes, that ground game in Carolina is phenomenal. First off, D'Angelo Williams is a top 5 back in my opinion. This guy has the build that you look for, height and weight distribution. He has powerful leg drive, exceptional agility. He can avoid tackles with the best of them. And once he pounds you down, you have this guy, Jonathan Stewart. And the luxury that Carolina has is that both of their playmaking running backs are dynamic. Jonathan Stewart is a powerful guy, but he's ridiculously fast. Jonathan Stewart is a guy, if you don't get out the way, he'll run over you. I liken him to someone like Steven Jackson with his power and speed. But with those two guys pounding the ball, as well as, a coach like John Fox is committed to the running game, Carolina is going to beat you up week in and week out. You know they're going to run it. They're going to play action over the top to Steve Smith. They have Machine Muhammad as their possession receiver. So Carolina on the offensive side of the ball, like you mentioned, with the 2 bookend tackles, they're going to stick with the ground game. My biggest concern is the quarterback, because in this league you can only go as far as your quarterback takes you. So on the offensive side, stick with the ground game. They still need a lot of questions answered at the quarterback position.
Historically, ever since this franchise came about in 1996, they've been defensive-oriented. And Julius Peppers, they sign him to that big deal, finally get him happy. He's on the D-line. What's your thoughts about the D-line?
Julius Peppers is an all-world athlete. They paid him the franchise tag for that reason. The money that he's making, you know how many teams would have snatched Julius Peppers had they not franchised him. And a little known fact, it went unnoticed. It was kind of a buzz during draft day, but the Carolina Panthers traded back into the 2nd round, giving up a 1st-round pick next year for Florida State defensive end Everett Brown. And I'm telling you, when you put on the tape of Everett Brown, this guy is a sacking machine. So you team him with Peppers and you put Everett Brown on the other side, along with a talented group of linebackers, that defense will be phenomenal. That pass rush, Everett Brown and Peppers should cause havoc on the D-line.
I loved Everett Brown. I thought he was going to be a top 20 pick. I couldn't believe he fell that far.
Yes, that was a shock to me.
And their linebacker core, led by one of the most underrated players in the NFL, a guy also out of a Florida school, the U, John Beeson, short, got passed up on the draft. Love this guy at linebacker.
John Beeson is one of the toughest, smartest linebackers in this league. He can drop in coverage. He lays the wood every time he attacks. And it's not bad when you have a guy like Thomas Davis, the former safety. They moved him to the outside. He's another thumper out of the University of Georgia. So they have some edge rushers on the end, and they have 2 linebackers in that linebacking core that are knockout artists. So look for the Panthers linebackers to step up as well.
21st last year in the league in interceptions. What's their outlook on when it comes to their secondary?
Well, that's another question mark. Chris Gamble is their number 1. He is a playmaker. He's been a playmaker ever since his college days. But they lose Ken Lucas back to Seattle, and they had a big incident last year with him and Steve Smith. But Chris Gamble is maybe the only guy in that secondary who is of any note. They have Ricardo Coakley. no, Rashard Marshall, excuse me. Rashard Marshall is the guy that they have. He shows flashes every now and then, but he's done nothing to make you believe that he'll be a shutdown corner in that secondary. And over the top at the safety position, still question marks. No guys that have stepped up and supplanted themselves, or what am I trying to say? Who have stake their claim as a top-notch safety in this league. There are really no top-notch safeties on the Carolina roster. So I do look for that secondary to struggle, although they do have a playmaker in Chris Gamble.
They had high hopes out of Richard Marshall coming out of Fresno State. They thought he could play across, but that is their question mark. Chris Harris, more of a hitter, but can they guard anybody in the pass game? Should be interesting. Special teams, what's the unit outlook? They got Steve Smith. Are they going to play him returning punts or what? This guy's dynamic in the open field.
Steve Smith, the one thing they don't want to do is overuse him because he's so important to their passing game. Putting him back there on punt returns leaves him open to more vicious hits because, as always, on punts you have everybody running full speed in one direction, and you don't want to put your most valuable player in that type of danger, especially when he's the key to your passing game. You look at it like that. You return maybe 3 or 4 punts a game, but he's going to be on the field for passing plays, maybe 30 to 40 plays. So if they don't put Steve Smith back there, they may struggle in the punt return category, but they have a veteran kicker in John Casey. He's the last original Carolina Panther. He's been with the team since 1995, and last year he was 28 out of 31 on his field goals attempts. So you combine a decent running game, a great running game with a solid special teams kicker, and you're going to win a lot of close games. So Carolina, I look for them to finish second in the division this year. They have a tough defense, great running game, so they're going to be competitive in any game that they play, but it's going to be a very tough NFC South.
Well, the trend in the NFC South was from last to first, and Carolina ended that streak narrowly outwinning the Atlanta Falcons as they almost made it from last to first. They made it last to second. Carolina stopped the trend, and the NFC South, the home field advantage they have, should be an interesting division this year.
Yes. Well, that's our 2009 Carolina Panthers team preview. I'm Cornell Hunter reporting with
Tyler Merkovich.
Welcome. Thank you for visiting footballgameplan.com where football makes sense. Be sure to visit footballgameplan.com/NFL to see more video analysis of your favorite team.